From pick-me girls to cancel culture, being a Gen Z is currently the new hip trend these days. Generation Z has dominated the social media world and has been a part of almost every single turn of events when it comes to the digital world. But I think we can all agree when we all think of Gen Z, empowering and positive thoughts don't always come to mind. What does come to mind is random girls blowing up on TikTok, lazy kids, teens, and adults not working for what they want, and Mr. Beast.
I have a challenge for all of you.
But I also have seen Gen Z break a lot of boundaries when it comes to society and help aid in changing the way we see and view the world. So what is the future of Gen Z? Are we really making the world a worse place to live in? Or is there really a silver lining to this Instagrammable hashtag-driven culture? This is the infamous world of Gen Z.
Sorry, first time being kidnapped, kind of nervous. So why did you pick me? Do you think I'm cute? I'm gonna kill you. Okay, daddy vibes, we love a bad boy king and I wanna die.
There's something wrong with your generation. Freeze! Police! You're safe now, ma'am.
Okay, ew, police, it's not that deep, chill. And did you just assume my gender? Because that's offensive.
But I'm here to say-
That's offensive.
But you were-
That's offensive.
Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. This new and current generation is one of the most controversial and talked about generations out there. We've all heard the good, bad, and ugly when it comes to kids, teens, and adults these days. Are they right? And are we the generation that is screwing everything up? Or are we the generation that's just extremely misunderstood and there's more to us than just pumpkin spice lattes and not being like the other girls? I think it's finally time to talk about the one and only Generation Z. So first off, let's start with the previous generations. First, we have the greatest generation, which were born from 1901 to 1924. This group represented the majority of soldiers in World War II and is still with us, which I'm assuming most aren't. They are between the ages of 99 and 122. Next, we have the silent generation that were born from 1925 to 1945. This generation got its name because they were the most smallest group due to the consequences of the Great Depression and World War II. Then of course we have the infamous baby boomers, which were born between 1946 and 1964. The baby boomers were actually one of the most prevalent groups in modern society because they were present for many of the technology advances in the last 50 years. They have been more adaptable to modern growth and learning how to function in today's technological age. And I'm assuming most of these people we know as grandma and grandpa, which I love. Can I just say, I really love and respect a lot of baby boomers out there. I'm kind of sounding a little annoying and I'm trying not to be. Next, we have Gen Z, which was 1965 to 1979. This generation is the most relevant of modern day times because in relation to technology, they served almost as a bridge from older populations to younger ones. They were present for the inception of the internet, video games, artificial intelligence, and it's the population that has created many of these advances. You might have some parents in this generation. Next are the millennials, of course, the infamous millennials. These are most of our parents if you're probably in your 20s right now. Millennials are really misunderstood and often mislabeled. Older people tend to blame someone younger for being a millennial when they don't understand the values of older times and hold the same views as they did when they were young. When it comes to millennials, I often see a lot of them making it their mission and goal to try to raise their kids differently from how they were raised. In 2023, these are people between the ages of 29 and 43. And finally, we made it to Generation Z. We will also be talking about Generation Alpha, which is the generation after Generation Z, so stay tuned. We all know how society was back in the old days, where most people didn't really have the option to live how they wanted to live because it didn't fit in society's standards and you were most likely going to be criticized for it. Like how women were told that, you're supposed to stay at home and be a housewife and the men are supposed to go out and work, or if you were gay, you probably hid it from a lot of people because you didn't want to be shamed for being who you were. But nowadays we are so much more accepting of anyone and anything. It was, I believe, around 2015 when gay marriage became legalized in all 50 states. Women now have more rights more than ever because they're seen as an actual human being rather than someone who was just born basically to have kids and get married. This was the generation that started to see the problems in society, fight for it, and actually do something something about it. I mean, think about all the movements that have happened in the past few years. The Black Lives Matter movement, fighting against climate change, LGBTQ plus rights, body positivity. I mean, I have never seen a generation as open and accepting as Gen Z, which is one of the few things I can say that I love about our generation because we have such a bad reputation. A lot of older people don't understand just because you accept someone for who they are doesn't mean you have to necessarily agree with what they choose to do. I know a lot of other generations might not like Gen Zs because we didn't just give in to whatever. We spoke up for what we believed in. Like, even if YouTube was invented in the 1900s, I couldn't sit here and make videos about whatever I wanted to and talk about things like this because I would be shut down because I'm a woman, because I'm Black, and if I was caught speaking my unpopular and controversial opinion, I would be silenced. Living as a Gen Z can be extremely difficult because a lot of older people and older generations assume the worst about us. I can't tell you how many times I've done something or made some type of decision and I get told this generation is so bad, stupid, lazy, and so forth. And because of us being young, oftentimes people will assume a lot of crazy things about us. For instance, everyone thinks I'm tech savvy because I'm a younger person, which I can totally see how that makes sense, but in all honesty, I am not at all. But I think some people forget, like, especially for me, I was born in the early 2000s and it was a time period where technology wasn't as prevalent as it is now. Like, of course, we still had a bunch of technology, but like I grew up on VHS and I was still sent like the yellow pages every single month. I was one of the kids who were told to go outside and find something to do and don't come back until dinner time. I mean, a lot of elementary school kids have all kinds of phones and laptops nowadays, and I didn't have any of that growing up when I was younger. I even grew up on Saturday morning cartoons just like my parents did. I'm going to be honest, the culture of the modern day Gen Z world is very confusing and frustrating. I feel like I have to walk on eggshells because if I say something wrong, I'm gonna get canceled. Everything I say is offensive. If I say boys and girls, then I get told that there are more genders than just a boy and a girl. If I say have a great day, ma'am, then I get in trouble because I assume that person's gender. If I call someone a human, then I get in trouble because human has the word man in it. It's hard when people have pronouns such as it. It's hard when people choose to seriously identify themselves as a cat. It's like, okay, where do we draw the line here? I'm seriously trying to be accepting of everyone and how they choose to live their lives, but part of me wants people to live freely without having any judgment and anyone assuming anything on them, but the other part of me thinks that gender labeling is just stupid and confusing and just too much. I mean, cancel culture itself is extremely toxic. It's like if someone doesn't agree with the modern day social norms, then their platform is ruined and people make it their mission and goal to destroy them. There's also a huge problem with current trends. We have fat shaming, not being like the other girls, and an explosion of people getting plastic surgery. These body standards are just extremely hard to navigate. 1 month having a BBL will be the new trend, and the next month thigh gaps are in. We started off with having a lot of body positivity movements, but because of apps like TikTok, we keep getting fast and new trends being thrown at us constantly, and it's exhausting. Hands down, the hardest thing about being a Gen Z is constantly being labeled. Society sees us as a generation with no morals or no values. They see us as this lazy generation that gets by doing nothing. But do we blame them? How many people have gotten TikTok famous from just posting an 8-second clip of them just dancing? How many people have posted a vlog on YouTube and end up trending and now they're walking in Fashion Week? How many people get paid on Instagram to post a picture of them eating a gummy worm or a piece of clothing? How many people are getting famous for just being famous? Social media has changed how we live our lives in modern day society. Things that we had to do back in the day are no longer necessary to survive. But is everyone right? Are we too lazy? This is the truth. There are some, let's say TikTokers, who really are lazy, really don't do anything. But there are a lot of people who actually put in the effort and do work. I've definitely said this in a previous video, but just because you are not putting in the physical labor of like a 9-to-5 regular smegular job does not mean that you're lazy and are not deserving of the life that you want to live. I applaud today's society because they chose to work smarter and not harder. We have found a way to make our own money without having to answer to a boss and to work double shifts. just to get by. And I've heard of so many people who have really busted their ass in trying to achieve their dream life and dream goals when it comes to social media, and they weren't lazy about it at all. I used to be ashamed of being a Gen Z, but I now realize that there are people from every single generation that were lazy, and there are people from every single generation that make other people in that generation look stupid. But we all can't deny that we've come so far in society, and Gen Z had an extremely big role when it comes to that. I choose to move on and accept my society that I'm living in rather than nitpick every single little thing that someone's doing that I don't like. And of course, the generation after Gen Z is called Generation Alpha. Now, this is a generation that was born in the 2000s and up and came out the womb literally totally immersed in technology. These are the kids whose parents grew up having technology themselves. So if you're gonna pick a generation to make fun of, please pick that generation because it's not me. Alright guys, thank you so much for sticking to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. I do post every single week, so of course I will be back next week for my next video. Bye guys.